This year's Note release was interesting, to say the least, for a number of different reasons. So it's not only because there are now 2 Notes as opposed to just 1, but also because this release has dang near squashed the distinction between the Note and S line of phones. Now don't get me wrong, there are still differences between the 2 lines of course, and there's no question that the Note 10 Plus is the best phone that Samsung has to offer. The real question is, by how much? Now, I'll spare you the full-on Note 10 Plus versus S10 Plus comparison, we'll leave that for a different video, but during my time with the Note 10 Plus as my main phone, I kind of found it difficult, now more than ever, to get the thought of the 2 devices being so incredibly similar out of my head. But when I finally did, and I was immersed into what this phone has to offer, I came to some unsurprising conclusions. This is the best of the best from Samsung, it's a great phone, and it's a candidate for Phone of the Year. But again, it's one of the most, if not the most interesting Note release we've seen, and here's why. Besides what I've already mentioned, this year's Note is interesting because from the very beginning, the Note has been the Swiss Army knife of phones, the phone that had basically anything and everything Samsung could possibly stuff into it. That's still the case, however, a step back has been taken because this time around, Samsung got rid of the headphone jack. I get it. All wireless everything is the future, and I barely ever use wired audio accessories myself. But it's funny how Samsung just got finished talking about how the S10 kept the headphone jack not too long ago. It's always nice having that option. I just wish they could have waited until next year at least. Oh well. Samsung also decided to get rid of the power button on the right hand side of the phone, and they merged it with the Bixby button on the left. Again, very interesting, but I won't say that it was a bad choice, and I got used to it pretty quickly. It totally beats the S10 Plus's high placement, that's for sure. I will say that taking screenshots with my left hand can be a bit finicky. You kind of have to fat finger it. It's not the end of the world though. What is the end of the world is this stupid giant hole punch cutout at the top of the display. What in the world is this? It totally gets in the way of literally everything I look at, and I just can't stop staring at it. It is so ugly, and I utterly despise it. Yeah, I'm totally kidding, but here's the thing, there are a lot of people who would actually agree with that statement. Seriously. For me though, it's no big deal, especially after having used phones with the biggest of notches, phones with pill-shaped cutouts. This is hardly something to worry about, and I love how the community continues to embrace it and comes up with some clever wallpapers to just have fun with it. All in all, hardware is pretty much what you'd expect from a top-tier Samsung device. It's super sturdy, very premium, great feeling materials, it's got a refined, modern look, the whole 9, complete with a smudged up glass back. Shout out to this video sponsor Dbrand for the skins, they really help out a lot. You can check out this one and many others using the link below. In everyday use, the Note 10 Plus is pretty much what I or anyone would expect, really. It's familiar territory. It's got a big, bright, gorgeous, immersive, super colorful and crisp display. It's pure eye candy as usual. It's obviously a larger phone, a 2-hander for most. It's got loud, solid sounding speakers. The haptics are vastly improved. They feel almost iPhone-like. Almost. I said almost. You've got all the many software features that come with One UI, and of course, you've got the S Pen. Something I did want to mention is, after coming over from the OnePlus 7 Pro, I saw just how much I've been spoiled by its screen's 90Hz refresh rate, and boy, do I miss that. There's nothing wrong with 60Hz at all, and my eyes have finally readjusted. But man, once you've seen and used a panel with 90Hz or higher, it's really hard to go back to anything lower. It's crazy just how much a higher refresh rate affects user experience. Battery life on this phone is excellent. I've gotten anywhere from 7 to over 8 hours of screen on time with heavy use, and on a super heavy day of use, I hover around 6 to 7 hours. So either way, the battery has proven to be very reliable for power user type usage. In addition to that, charging is quick and convenient. It's convenient with wireless charging and quick with the included 25-watt adapter and cable, and on top of that, there's support for charging with a 45-watt adapter. Good stuff. Overall speed and performance is great as well. There's really nothing worth speaking on other than it's fast and powerful. Everything has worked as it should. Even that in-display fingerprint scanner has worked just fine, for me anyway. I say that because it doesn't look like everyone has had the same luck. I know it's not ideal, it's not super accurate, it doesn't work every single time, but it gets the job done, and I, personally, haven't really had any issues with it. Face unlock is super quick, albeit less secure, but it totally wins the convenience category. The cameras are great too. We're looking at pretty much the same lens trio we got with the S10 Plus, so you can expect a lot of the same results, which isn't a bad thing to be honest. You can get some really great looking shots thanks to the versatility we get with these cameras and the software. There are a couple of new things that Samsung implemented, like zoom in mic, AR doodle, there's live focus video, just to add on to the already extensive library of camera features. But overall, as a point and shoot camera for pictures and videos, it's great. Not perfect, definitely not perfect, not the best, but great. Now about the S Pen. This, of course, is what makes the Note the Note. It's the main thing that sets this phone apart from every other phone out there on the market. The S Pen got its usual yearly improvements like better hardware and better handwriting recognition, and it also got a new set of features. Mostly in the camera app, where you can now perform gestures to switch between camera modes, you can zoom in and out, basically control everything remotely, which is pretty cool. And it still does all of the other things we know and love the S Pen for, but there's still nothing really groundbreaking going on here. Now, I've said this about the S Pen a few times before. It's something that I love having, but it's not something I necessarily miss when I'm using a different phone. For a while, I started to wonder if I was in love with the S Pen or more so the novelty of having the S Pen. I think now it might be a little bit of both. I think it's a phenomenal tool and companion to the Note, and there are actually quite a few genuine use cases for it. But over time, I found that I use the S Pen to try to get myself to use it more often than me actually having a use for it. Now, that's not a slight on it at all. I do in fact have actual uses for it. It just means that I'm not within the target audience as much as I used to be. I still love it though. Speaking of target audiences, it looks like the Note 10 Plus is geared towards creators now as much as it is towards pure power users, with the new S Pen and camera features, the video stabilization improvements, the baked-in video editor, the updated Samsung DeX functionality. You can now plug it into your existing computer. You don't need a dedicated screen and peripherals anymore. There's also Microsoft's link to Windows function, and then of course you've got all the usual multitasking features, shortcuts, tweaks and customizations, all that. Really, there are a good number of features other phones just don't offer, which is why the Galaxy Note continues to sit in a class of its own. Look, I love this phone, and I do recommend that those interested pick one up, but only if you have no problem shelling out $1,100 for one. My advice would be to wait a bit for the price to go down, see if you can trade in a current device to slash the price in half, or if you're finding that you don't absolutely need everything that the Note has to offer, mainly the S Pen, but you still want a large, powerful Android phone, save the money and check out the OnePlus 7 Pro or Samsung's own S10 Plus. The Note legacy lives on. There's nothing crazy or jaw-dropping going on here, nothing that Note 9 users need to drop their phones for, and that's okay. The Note 10 Plus continues to refine the feature-packed spec monster that it is, the large phone that so many have come to love. We may not have gotten anything groundbreaking or super innovative, but this ended up being a pretty great way to close out the year. So what do you guys think of the Galaxy Note 10 Plus? Let us know by dropping your comments down below. As always, we love to hear your feedback. Anyway, that does it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to hit that like button, subscribe to the Android Police channel if you are new. I will talk to you guys later, and thank you so much for watching.